What if I told you that one NBA team went from struggling newcomers to championship contenders almost overnight? That's exactly what happened with the Orlando Magic. Founded in 1989, the team faced early hardships until fate handed them back-to-back #1 draft picks in 1992 and 1993. Can you guess those picks? None other than Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Penny Hardaway. With that duo, the Magic became the second fastest expansion team to reach an NBA final. Let's dive into their incredible rise. Back in 1985 to 1986, when the team was still in the early stages of its creation, several potential names were on the table. Some of the options included Heat, Tropics, Juice, and Magic. Ultimately, ownership decided on Magic, inspired by the city's biggest tourist attraction and economic powerhouse, Walt Disney World. At the time, Orlando wasn't the most obvious choice for an NBA team, as it wasn't particularly a big city and its airport wasn't nearly as large as those in Tampa or Miami, which seemed like stronger candidates. However, the ownership group was determined to make Orlando work. They pushed forward with their vision, securing approvals and laying the groundwork for a stadium that would bring professional basketball to the city. Starting as an expansion team in 1989, the Orlando Magic had a tough introduction to the NBA, enduring 3 straight losing seasons. Although they sold out every home game during the 1991 to 1992 season, their on-court struggles continued, finishing with a mediocre 21-61 record. Everything changed in the 1992 NBA Draft when they landed the #1 pick and selected a dominant young center, Shaquille O'Neal. His impact was immediate. In the 1992 to 1993 season, the Magic improved drastically, finishing with a 41-41 record. While it wasn't a winning record, it was the first time in franchise history they hadn't ended a season with a losing one either. They were the league's most improved team that season, and Shaq lived up to the hype, earning Rookie of the Year honors and even making the All-Star team, something no rookie had done since Michael Jordan in 1985. Shaq was the real deal, and the Magic came incredibly close to making the playoffs, tying with Indiana for the 8th spot, but just missing out. The Magic never expected to land the #1 pick in the 1993 NBA Draft. With only one lottery ball in play, their odds were slim, but then lightning struck. Defying all the odds, they secured the top pick once again. With that selection, the Magic initially drafted Chris Webber, but they had a bigger plan in mind. In a bold move, they traded Webber to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for the #3 pick, Anthony Penny Hardaway, along with 3 future first-round draft picks. It was a gamble, but one that would soon pay off. Fast forward to the 1993 to 1994 season, and the results spoke for themselves. The Shaq and Penny duo clicked immediately, leading the Magic to a 50-32 record, their first winning season in franchise history. The excitement was real, and Orlando was finally making waves. Although their playoff run was short-lived, losing 3-0 in the first round to the Indiana Pacers, the same team that had edged them out for the final playoff spot the year before, it was clear that the Magic had something special. With 2 young superstars leading the way, hope had arrived in Orlando. A crucial offseason trade to acquire Horace Grant from the Chicago Bulls showed Orlando wasn't just an expansion team anymore and had serious aspirations for a title. The trade paid off as the Magic would go on to a 57-25 record and winning the Atlantic Division and finishing first in the Eastern Conference. In the playoffs, Round 1, Orlando would take care of Boston 3-1 to move on to face the Chicago Bulls, who were freshly recharged with the addition and return of the great Michael Jordan. Orlando would do something that only the 1990 champions Detroit Pistons had done: defeat a Michael Jordan-led Chicago Bulls in a best-of-7 game series in the 90s. Orlando won the series 4-2 joining only the 1990 Pistons to beat Jordan in the playoffs in the 90s, and would go on to the conference final meeting a familiar foe in the Indiana Pacers, who were also a fast-improving team like themselves. In a 7-game bloodbath, Shaq and Penny were brilliant, and Orlando would go on to win the series in 7. They were the second fastest expansion team ever to reach a final since the Milwaukee Bucks in 1971. The final, they would meet the Houston Rockets, who were returning defending champions, but were very low-seeded and struggled throughout the season. The Rockets added Clyde Drexler, joining university teammate Hakeem Olajuwon. Orlando would disappoint in the final, getting swept by the lowest-ranked team to ever win a final. A huge moment had slipped out of Penny and Shaq's hands. Shaq himself stated, "We were so excited about beating Michael Jordan, we thought we already won the title." The 96 season saw the Orlando Magic take another leap forward, improving their record to an impressive 60-22. Despite the disappointment of their NBA Finals loss the previous year, they didn't let it slow them down. Instead, they came back hungrier than ever, once again emerging as serious title contenders. Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, now in just their 4th and 3rd NBA seasons respectively, were proving to be one of the most dominant young duos in the league. Their chemistry, skill, and star power made it clear. They weren't just a flash in the pan, they were here to stay. When the playoffs rolled around, the Magic cruised through the first 2 rounds, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the 2nd consecutive year. But this time, they ran into a different beast, the Chicago Bulls. The same Bulls team they had eliminated the year before, but now with a vengeance. Led by a fully recharged Michael Jordan and boasting an NBA record 72-10 season, Chicago was on a mission. This time, there would be no upset. The Bulls dismantled Orlando in a dominant sweep, sending Penny, Shaq, and the Magic home without a fight. Still, despite the bitter end, the future looked bright. Shaq and Penny were still incredibly young, not even in their primes yet, and Orlando appeared poised to be a powerhouse for years to come, or so it seemed. It was time to renew Shaq's contract, and Orlando were the only team able to pay Shaq above the NBA's back then salary cap, which was $24.3 million. Orlando lowballed Shaq with a $13.5 million a year offer after lesser players like Alonzo Mourning and Juwan Howard just received $105 million multi-year deals from their respective teams. Shaq was asking for $20 million per year with an opt-out option after year 3, and Orlando had the audacity to criticize Shaq's rebounding and defense instead of giving in to demands. Cue the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers were making moves of their own to become competitive again since the Showtime Laker days. They traded in the draft for a young Kobe Bryant and got rid of center Vlade Divac in doing so, and were looking for a replacement at the center position. Lakers went all in with a $120 million 7-year deal, which would be the largest NBA contract in history at the time. Orlando tried to be reactive to every offer Lakers gave instead of being proactive with resigning its superstar big man. Orlando dropped the ball in the 96 offseason and lost its big man. The potential of a future dynasty dwindled away. We all know what ended up happening with the Lakers between 2000 to 2002. Years later, Shaquille O'Neal would publicly apologize to Penny Hardaway for leaving Orlando, admitting that their partnership had unfinished business. But while Shaq took accountability, many believe the real mistake wasn't his. It seemed like a complete error in judgment made by the franchise itself, the Orlando Magic. It's hard not to wonder, what if the Magic had handled things differently? From 1994 to 1996, Shaq and Penny dominated the regular season and were proving themselves as playoff contenders. Had they stayed together, could they have maintained that dominance and eventually broken through to win a championship? The thought becomes even more intriguing when considering that Michael Jordan retired again after the 1998 season. By that point, Penny and Shaq would have only been entering their prime in their 6th and 7th NBA seasons respectively. With no MJ standing in their way, could the Magic have taken over the league and built a dynasty of their own? It remains one of the biggest what-ifs in Orlando Magic history, but unfortunately, we'll never know. The franchise's lowball contract offers in 1996 pushed Shaq out the door, sending him to Los Angeles, where he would go on to win 3 championships with the Lakers. Had the Magic made a stronger commitment to keeping their superstar duo intact, we might have seen years of Magic moments still to come. But instead, that era came to an abrupt and disappointing end. And so, the story of the Orlando Magic's rise and fall remains one of the NBA's biggest what-ifs. With Shaq and Penny on the verge of greatness, a missed opportunity in 1996 changed everything. Do you think they could have won a title together? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more game-changing stories.